major reforms. We are in trouble if we only look at Marx and the Marxist tradition as if it is over. It is in constant motion. The usual Marxist understanding has what we call a base superstructure model. The economy determines everything. That I can't change schools unless I change the economy. That is wrong, and it leads only to cynicism. It is deeply incorrect. As I argue in the book, Can Education Change Society, which is translated into Chinese, it is a very, very dangerous error to assume that education has no autonomy whatsoever. And one of the people I turn to is Antonio Gramsci, an Italian political theorist who was jailed before World War II. And he argues that all things are crucial. The struggle to change a society requires what he calls a war of position versus a war of maneuver. A war of maneuver is like the war against the Japanese. When Japan decided that you would be less than human and occupied much of this great country. Okay? So they have machine guns, you have machine guns. Whoever wins is the last person standing. So it's a frontal assault. Okay? Gramsci says, in current ideological forms, it is less that, it is more what he calls a war of position. Everything counts. Schools count. Banking counts. Healthcare counts. Women's lives counts. And what we have to do is take those struggles and connect them together. And as I'll show you, that is what capital does. Dominant groups are brilliant at that. So we must be guided then in our analysis that this is something that requires that we struggle in every site, not just in the economy. A second theoretical advance is that cultural form and content is crucial not just in reproduction, my argument in ideology and curriculum, but also in social transformation. In order to change the economy, to change this society, people's consciousness is absolutely central to any work. And that means we need theories about people's identity, about whether people agree or disagree, about contradictions in people's thoughts. All of that becomes very, very important. And that means that the nature of the state, the nature of government, is very, very important. I'll give one example. You have a Ministry of Education in China. It's very powerful. It provides funding for me to come here, so it must be good. In the United States, we have a weak Ministry of Education, very weak. So each local city or each state determines the curriculum, which textbooks will be used, who becomes a teacher. There's no national. It's all local. That means trying to change the school is easy because you face it, but very hard. So textbooks are bought, they're not given. Okay? So that means that it is capitalist publishers that determine our curriculum. All right? So the nature of the state, whether the government is strong or weak. So you have some autonomy. So the last time we were in Shanghai, the Ministry of Education had told Shanghai they may experiment with new textbooks. So there is some local autonomy. But in the United States, it's almost all local. And that makes it very, very hard for large transformations. It means if a community is racist or is controlled by factory owners, there's very little you can do. Okay? All right. It also means that we need nuanced, means more subtle, more powerful understandings of class and class relations. Traditional models say there's two classes we should be concerned about, ruling class and working class, or ruling class and peasants. That is it's 19th century theory. Capital has changed class relations. The new middle class is very, very powerful, and we may be able to win battles in education against capital and still lose. So we need to have a much better class theory than we usually have. And as I'll show, that's very important for education. I know that this is very abstract, but it's very important if we want to interrupt. Next to last, this will be again a bit abstract, we need a rejection of what is called in philosophy, in social philosophy, a rejection of the automaticity assumptions. Let me tell you what that means. This will be on the examination later on, so pay attention. I'm not joking, you can't leave the room. This is China. There has to be an important test at the end. That was a bad joke. It was a painful one. So, an automaticity theory says automatically, as conditions get horrible, people will say, stop doing that to me. They will mobilize.